So here's an interesting article I ran across. Unfortunately, what they're trying to create a link between here, I think, is more around the way of doing a mundane or repetitive task. But I'll get more into that when I get into it. I read the summary to this study, the official, but every time I try to pull up the study itself, the actual findings and all that good stuff, I never can find anything. So, since I can't get that to pull up, we'll just have to go with this and, the summary. But apparently, the title of this article is First-Person Shooters Cause Brain Damage According to New Study from the University of Montreal. A study suggests a link between FPS games and brain damage. Which, it's one of those where they're trying to say games are harmful. But let's get into it. Video games have always found a way to pop up in general media, from wild accusations by people who have never picked up a controller, claims that video games are the cause of violence, teach prejudice and sexism, and even damage the brain, have popped up numerous times with nothing to back it. Yes, that does happen. There's several studies out there where they found out that games don't do that sort of thing. In fact, they found out that a lot of the more aggressive type games have actually reduced a person's aggression when they say get done with hard days at work or whatever. And, pop in GTA or whatever they're going to play. And then after sitting down for a few hours and unwinding with the video game, they've been less aggressive than they were when they started. But anyway. Let's see. Let's continue. But what if that last one might be true? Wait, really? I didn't read the article. I read the summary of the study, but I haven't actually read through this article yet. I just find the study to mull over it real quick to see if there's going to be anything in here worth talking. I don't know. Anyway, studies over the years have shown the positive effects of playing select video games for the elderly, including improved motor skills, problem solving, and memory, to name a few. Yes. Several video games do, especially if you're doing a lot of puzzle-solving games and other stuff. It helps. Heck, they had the Brain Age games come out on the DS a long time ago because, you train your brain and it helps keep your brain up. There's even a website that does that. I can't remember what it's called right now, but I saw ads or something for it for a long time ago too, where you can pay a subscription and do these little games to help increase your brain function and keep you more tip-top than doing nothing. But the gaming community has been able to refute the claim of blame on most cases against it as society continues to take a digitally prevalent future, include video games and TV shows, movies, and even esports competitions. Esports are video games. Of course it's going to include games. Anyway, a new study in Canada from the University of Montreal believes it may have found a link between first-person shooters and brain damage. The study was conducted on 100 participants who were asked to play 90 hours of first-person shooters such as Killzone, Call of Duty, and Borderlands. After playing these games, studies showed a noticeably smaller level of gray matter in the brain as compared to someone who doesn't play video games at all. Now, according to the summary of the study, they had these people play 90 hours of first-person shooters, such as Call of Duty, Borderlands, Killzone, and things. And what it doesn't really state if these are separate 90 hours or not, but they also played 90 hours of other kind of games, like puzzle-oriented games, Super Mario, and a few others. And they start the study off by giving them sort of a 3D maze to pilot through on a computer to sort of figure out how the different participants learn to get through the maze, whether they're using landmarks or if they're just memorizing left, right, left, right, left, right, 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 left, left, right, something like that, which would determine how these people learn, what part of their brain is more active, what is easier for them to learn with. And they also did that as well. But let's continue. Researchers claim that playing first-person shooters will activate the autopilot portion of the brain, allowing the hippocampus to diminish in size, which over time can lead to memory loss, depression, and schizophrenia. These participants were then asked to play a 3D puzzle-solving game that required more challenging thought and spectral awareness, which resulted in an increase in gray matter, strengthening the hippocampus. And pretty much like I said, apparently they started the study. First thing they did was do that 3D maze, so they can figure out how they learn. Then they talked about how they had them play 90 hours worth of first-person shooters and 90 hours of non-first-person shooters. But essentially what they got down to was when you perform a mundane task, like say playing Halo 5 or Call of Duty, the games now come with like automatic waypoints and other stuff, unlike back in the day of say playing Doom or Doom 2, where you got a map, but you essentially was in a maze for a lot of different times. You've got to figure out your way around, go find keys, open up various doors. I mean, you could find yourself on a map where you've finally found the blue key, but then you forgot where the blue door was, and you're just wandering around looking for it. And that's a different kind of first-person shooter, to be honest, with what we got today, which are honestly more of an autopilot type thing, to be honest. Just as the article says, it's more of a mundane, repetitive task. Even in multiplayer, you're just shooting whatever pops up red in the reticle real quick, and it goes down. Although there are other games that, are more challenging, that makes you think a little bit. You can't just rush out and start shooting things. But let's continue. Despite how scary this sounds, scientists overseas caution against drawing any firm conclusions from this study. And they have every right to. Because honestly, what it feels like their whole study was doing a mundane task, the same thing every day. So if you happen to have something that you do every single day, it's the same thing over and over and over again for a long period of time, you do it on autopilot, and it reduces gray matter. Meanwhile, if you challenge yourself, say, a different task every single day, for hours on end, and it's always different, and your brain has to work, it's an increase in that gray matter, helping with memory and other stuff. But, despite how scary this sounds, scientists overseas caution against drawing any firm conclusions from this study, given it is only one study with a select and small group of participants. It seems like an awful lot of scare tactics to publish such a radical idea, but that doesn't mean they are entirely wrong. And that's honestly the end of the article, it turns out. But yeah, honestly, they're wrong. They've wasted a lot of time to find out that if you do a repetitive task, it's going to affect your memory if that's all you ever do. Meanwhile, if you challenge yourself, you challenge your brain, you do something else with it, it increases memory instead of decreases memory and stuff like that. And it will increase your gray matter. Also with the study, they apparently took a measurement of every participant before they started to figure out where their gray matter set. But then during the study, in the official summary, it was talking about how after playing these first-person shooters, the gray matter decreased after playing it. But then it also says during playing the games, but then doesn't specify what games that they are playing at that moment, that during the actual gameplay, the gray matter had increased. So, which begs the question, which is why I was trying to bring up the actual study itself, because if that's the case, my real question on it at that point is, were they playing, say, Killzone or Call of Duty or whatever? Was their gray matter increasing while during gameplay, and when they stopped and waited a little bit and then measured, their brain, did whatever it is that they do, the MRI machine, whatever they use to measure that, did it decrease back to normal parameters, or did it shrink lower than normal? That is something I really want to know, because if that's the case, then they're onto something. Not exactly just when it comes to first-person shooters, just mundane tasks in general. Because, like I was saying, playing a first-person shooter is honestly pretty easy as long as you know how to aim and shoot with it. Unless you're the guy who was playing the new Doom, who can't even aim. Oh, but anyway. Now, if you know how to utilize the controls and go through it, you're pretty much hitting what waypoint, shoot a few things, go on, progress towards said waypoint, shoot a few things, get to waypoint, go press a console or something, then move on to the next waypoint as some story stuff develops or whatever. And there's not a whole lot of, major puzzles that you have to solve or anything, versus, playing something else nowadays. You may have puzzles to solve to go with it. You go through, you make it to an area, but you can't go on, and you can't figure out why, and it turns out you've got to backtrack and then do something over here that might be slightly unrelated, but is related, and then opens the path over here, because, it's a puzzle. It's a really large puzzle, and you got to solve it. And that will increase. The summary also didn't really state what game that they were playing, when during gameplay, apparently there was an increase in the gray matter, which, of course, is something I definitely would like to know, but apparently after playing things like Mario and other stuff, there was a notable increase. But then again, it also doesn't state, did subjects retain that increase afterwards? Which begs me to wonder, how skewed this study actually is. Because, for all we know, for all I know, if I could ever figure out how to actually access the study itself, the raw paperwork, and the data, which I would love to do and couldn't get, but, it could be very well that they went back to normal parameters, and because of that, they decided to say, oh, well, it decreased. It was notably increased while playing, and then it decreased back to normal, therefore there was a decrease. And it wouldn't be the first time we've seen things like that in studies, and they mark that as, yes, it's causing damage or whatever, when it just decreased to normal parameters. It also states that there was 100 participants, but it doesn't really state, is there a control group? Did all these 100 participants actually go and play 90 hours of first-person shooters, followed by another 90 hours of non-first-person shooters? Or any of that? Was there the group split 50-50? Did 50 of them play first-person shooters while 50% didn't? And they took, the base of what they originally were as the control, and then when they measured it, see if there was a increase or a decrease from that overall. At the end, it doesn't state that in the summary. Those are all questions I'd like to know, but other questions I'd like to know are your thoughts. Do you honestly think that a first-person shooter can cause brain damage if you play it too much? I personally don't think so. It's going to cause no more brain damage than, I don't know, watching reruns on Netflix. But what do you think? Does it cause brain damage? Are they onto something, or is this just another bogus thing for them to attack video games with? Let me know down in the comments below. See you later.
Hey,
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, smash that like button, and always subscribe for more. And of course, there are other videos floating around somewhere on the screen, so click one of those and see if you can find something that suits your fancy. Till then, I'll see you later. Bye.